If you're someone who opens the fridge and feels super confused because you don't know what to eat, or if you go to the grocery store and you feel lost because you've heard and read from this one influencer that that kind of oil is really bad for you, but then someone else says that you should eat butter every day, all day, every day, and you're not sure what to do, all these different things we see and hear online. And you're ready to go beyond the binary and get clear not only on what is good, but what more specifically is good for you, then I hope you're ready to learn from Staraya. I was just talking about the confusion that surrounds food for so many of us. And for you as an Ayurvedic practitioner and student of Dr. Vasant Lad, and for those of you who want to go deeper into this topic, I want you to know that Staraya will be our guest facilitator in April in our Wise Woman Circle membership. And if you want to learn from Staraya in her class, as well as learn from me about eating rituals and ways to relate to your food to support digestion and optimal fertility and balance of your womb, you can type in Waitlist into the comments of this live if you're watching it after, or right now as you're watching it, and you'll get the direct message with the link to sign up. So Star, I love you. Star is one of my best friends. And I want to hear from you, Star. I know you and I both have a big history of food. What is your story of food? Like, what brought you to Ayurveda and what makes you so passionate about this topic?
Well, I think there's a lot of things, but I'll try and sum it up. Battled with food stuff my whole life, went through a long bout of anorexia, and then because of that, I think had some major health issues. And then I was just trying to get back on track once I was wised up to realizing the beauty of the body and the innate nature of the healing properties of our body. But everything I was trying to heal, and also my nervous system was a part of that. Like I had this heightened nervous system and was feeling anxious all the time. And I'd try all these things, and it just felt like everything I tried, everything that was supposed to work, wasn't doing it. And then I got into yoga. And then from there, where I went to go get my training at Kripalu, they also had Ayurvedic training. And someone came to speak to our class about Ayurveda and how it is the sister science to yoga. And like instantly, I was like, I'm coming back and I'm going to do all the studies of Ayurveda. This is what I want to do. This is it. And I've been on a really long journey studying it. I studied at Kripalu and went as far as I could go there. And then my husband was so wonderful and allowed me to move to New Mexico. And so I could go study with Dr. Lad, and I finished that program. And I just found that it spoke to me because a lot of the things that I have learned in Ayurveda, and I've heard it from other people, is like once you hear it, it settles in your body and you're like, kind of like, yeah, I knew that. Or yeah, I've had an inkling of that, but I just didn't kind of know how to move in that direction. But it makes sense. It feels right. And it just was something I felt over and over again when I would sit and listen to lectures and all of that. So it's just been my go-to. I've layered on a lot of things. I've layered on functional nutrition and other modalities. But I think my core of what I've always just loved is that Ayurvedic piece, because it is such an innate piece of all of us, because it connects us to nature. It connects us to the seasons. It connects us to, especially women, our cycles. It connects us to what's going on around us and what we want to be going on within our bodies. So it's all encompassing, and I love that.
And Star, as you talk, I'm thinking about just some of the confusing things that we hear as women about food, and some of the ideas that are very prevalent that we just hear over and over again. And one of the things that I heard over and over again growing up, I heard it even in nutrition school, was you are what you eat. And I know in Ayurveda, it is not you are what you eat. It is you are what you digest. And really the importance of your digestive fire called Agni is really paramount, not only to your overall health, but to your womb health as well. And so for people who are listening, who have menstrual irregularities, who have painful periods, who have fertility challenges, like, why does their digestive health matter? Because a lot of people don't make that connection of, I'm not digesting my food and I have painful periods. Oh, could those two things be linked? So how is womb health linked to digestion and the food that you eat?
Well, this is a very...
We don't have an hour.
Yeah. But we could look at the overall picture for sure. And just like, so I'm sure most of your audience is familiar with the terms Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And just like those doshic qualities, our cycle has those doshic qualities as well. And so we can be in a season of Vata, which is wind and cold. And then we'll be in a season of Kapha, building up like the endometrial lining and everything. And that's when we're usually can be at our strongest. And that's damp and wet, but very stable. And then we move to the Pitta, which is that fire, that heat. But if we're not digesting our food, or if we're eating kind of the wrong, well, I don't want to say wrong, but just like not complementary or balancing foods during those times of our cycle, and we're not digesting, it can wreak havoc because the body needs to pull from different places to try to compensate for that. But if we're eating like during our cold or windy Vata period, cold, frozen foods and milkshakes and all that, it's actually going to cause more constriction. It's going to cause like our womb, the uterus, to contract more. And also all the blood vessels going for it is going to contract. So you can actually then have more painful periods and that sort of thing during that time. So that's a really, like, we are going to go through that a little bit more, but just, I guess in my mind, that's a quick little.
Yeah, that's a quick little thing. And, you know, I think one thing that's, so coming back to this idea of you're not what you eat, you're not what you eat, you're what you digest. And I think that that's so important. Like, if people don't remember anything, I want you to think about that, because you could be sitting next to your friend who has this diet that is like, you know, for me, like I was raw vegan for a while when I lived in Costa Rica. You knew me then. I was raw vegan. I was super ungrounded. I actually lost my period during this time because I was so undernourished. But then there were people around me with different constitutions. And in Ayurveda, not every person is the same. There's actually 7 different kinds of constitutions out there, and each one is different. And that's what I love so much about Ayurvedic medicine, is that we're not all the same. Specifically, we all have a different digestive capacity and capability. So while I'm here without my period, super ungrounded, dry as hell on a raw vegan diet, suffering, my friend over there is like thriving on it. And I'm all confused. I'm like, she's fine. I'm not.
Yeah.
What's the difference here? And so it's not you are what you eat. It's you are what you digest. And the trick is that everyone has a different digestive capacity. Mm-hmm. And so we talk about fertility diet. So we talk about diets for womb health. And I think what's so important for everyone to know is that it's not that there's a specific diet to build your fertility. Yes, there are reproductive nourishing foods, but if you are not digesting the food that you eat, that is going to be a hindrance, not only for all systems of your body, but for your womb as well. And so tell me, Star, like, what's one thing you're going to talk about in your class that can cut through the confusion for women when they open their fridge and they're like, should I have calories? Should I have protein? Should I have starches? Like, what's the difference of how Ayurveda looks at food? And what are those tools that you're going to teach about in your class in Wise Woman Circle?
So I'm going to take away the food labeling, like what's good, what's bad. And I'm going to tap into your body. And what I'm just going to ask from everyone is that you start being completely honest with yourself. Like, how do I feel when I eat this? No matter what everyone's telling you, no matter what the fad diet is, right? Like, you might be like, this feels great for me. And I'm going to say, well, then stay with that. If you're feeling like you have enough energy, you're sleeping well through the night, like you're happy, your skin's glowing, you have easy periods, like if that's working for you, then that means, like you said, Erin or Ucha, that you're...
Which one?
Erin, that you're digesting that diet and that food is nourishing you from all the deeper levels. But if it's not, I'm going to ask, like, why? Because
Mm.
sometimes we block in our mind. It's like, no, but I should be eating that. No, that person told me I'm supposed to be eating that. This is how I'm going to lose weight. This is how I'm going to, whatever it is. But then if we really quiet down and listen to ourselves, we know it's like it's really not for me, or it's really not working. And so I'm going to try to kind of take that away. And we're going to look more at the gunas of food, the qualities of the food. Is it heavy? Is it light? Is it cold? Is it hot? And you can start to, now when I am trying to figure out what I'm going to eat, I'm like, okay, how's my body? For me, it's my nervous system that I have to really like keep massaging, I guess, if you will. Like, I got to keep coming back to my nervous system. So I'm like, how am I feeling today? Do I feel grounded? Okay, great. And it's warm outside. So I'm really craving like some fresh greens, a salad, some lighter protein. That would be great for me. But I'm looking at it as these qualities instead of the fat, basically, or like, are fat's good or fat's not, all of this stuff.
And I love that, it becomes the question, not is this food good?
Right.
But is this food good for you?
Yes.
Not is this food good, but is this food good for me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because a certain food can be medicine for one person and poison for another, which is why it's so important that we do not go by the trends, but that we go by our bodies. And I remember, Star, when we were in Costa Rica teaching together, I remember one day before we ate, you were taking your pulse and you were just breathing really deep and taking your pulse. And from that, you were deciphering what it is you wanted to eat. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, witchcraft. I was like amazed. Like, whoa, she's actually listening to what her body needs, not just what she's been told, not just what she like looks at. You go to a restaurant, you look at a plate of food, you look at the menu, you're like, bad for me, good for me, bad. I read somewhere that's bad, not good. You know what I'm saying? And every day it changes.
Yeah.
Every day it's like, butter sucks. No, butter's good. Put butter everywhere, And exactly. And it's like, it's so confusing for us. Yeah. And so to break that down and get clear on what are the qualities of the food and what are the qualities that I have in my body, and how can I use food then as medicine to bring myself back to balance, to bring myself back to the true nature that is my innate constitution, that helps me feel the most balance. And each of us has a different pathway back home. Yeah. And so I'm really excited for this, because I think this is the class, the nutrition class, that if you came to this, it would just cut through all of the BS and just give you really foundational support so that you can navigate restaurants, you can navigate the grocery store. You can use food as what it is, which is medicine for your body when used correctly. Yeah. And I have a question here from the chat that I just want to ask you, Star. So I'm just going to paraphrase this question because it was pretty long. So this person was eating really healthy diet, but then they figured out that actually it wasn't working for them. And so what are some of the signs, the physical or emotional signs, that someone is not digesting their food well? And if you walk me down the line, like someone's not digesting their food well, what could happen then in terms of the womb? Right. Bringing back that connection of like digestion and womb health.
Okay. So some things that right away you'll probably start to notice if it's not working for you is going to be how well you're eliminating. So whether you're having constipation or diarrhea,
Girl, I'm so constipated right now after travel. Let me just tell everyone that.
You're
drinking my warm water.
So that is something right away that we can check in with, like, have I even gone to the bathroom today? Ayurveda says perfect digestion. You have a bowel movement every morning. That eliminates the toxins, everything right away. So it's not sitting there reabsorbing. So trying to get there. If you're not there yet, it's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up. there's actually some pretty easy things that we can do to try and turn that around. And for some, if it's really long standing, it just takes a little longer. You can also see your skin, like rashes breaking out, especially around like the mouth, chin area here. That's your body just not being able to process through as well. And then just all sorts of gut stuff. I mean, just like it's achy gut, bloating, all of those things is a sign that you're not digesting well. Having a lot of gas also is a good indication that things are not digesting. And then what all this has to do with is like our wombs, especially the lining, right, of our uterus needs a lot of nutrients and a lot of blood. And when I love like that you brought it back to like, it's not the food itself, it's what we can digest. And in Ayurveda, it breaks down into all the tissues of the body of what gets nourished. And then it goes to the next thing. So it's like, and your blood is basically at the top. And so if that's not nourished well, you're going to start to get like scanty periods, painful periods, having a hard time conceiving, all of these things just from not being able to digest your food or it not being the right food for you.
That's so big, Star. Like, I just want to just name that again. So like for everyone who's listening, that means that if you're not digesting your food, which means your body's not able to take all of that nourishment from the food and distribute it to the different layers of your tissue, which by the way, your womb, your reproductive layer is last to be nourished. Why? Because we don't need reproduction. It's a bonus, right? We don't need it to survive. It's a bonus for us to procreate. And so it's the last one. And so if you're not able to digest your food and break down the medicine of your food, then your reproductive tissue is going to be seriously undernourished. And that can show up as painful periods, as irregular cycles, as fertility challenges. So if you're having constipation, if you're having bloating, if you're having chronic diarrhea, burning, if you're not hungry for every meal, if you feel heaviness after every meal, got a thick white coating on your tongue, all of these things are signs that your body is not able to process the food that you're intaking. And eventually, maybe right now, you're not seeing any symptoms in your womb, but eventually it could start to impact your womb health. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people are like, for me, it was like, I've been constipated since I was a baby. My parents used to have to scoop poop out of me. That's how constipated I was. And then going on later to see that it affected my hormones. It affected my periods eventually. It's like these things are systemic. And in Western allopathic medicine, we don't really talk so much about how one system going out of balance can impact another. But if we're not pulling medicine from our food, then all layers of our tissues are going to be undernourished because that's how we build them. That's how we nourish them. And so your digestion, it's one of the reasons in Ayurveda, your gut health is so important because it is paramount for all systems of your body to function properly.
Yeah.
So Star, like this class, I'm just so excited for this class. Thank you for coming on to teach. And for everyone who wants to learn from Staraya in our Wise Woman Circle membership, she's going to be teaching a class on Ayurvedic nutrition made easy for women. And if you want to join, you can comment Waitlist and we'll direct message you the link to join the class. One last question that I see, Star, how do people know which Ayurvedic type they are? So for everyone listening, Star's talked about the doshas today. And in Ayurveda, there's different types that you can be, even though the doshas are all up in our body, like the physiological processes. But we each have an innate constitution. And so that's what this person's relying to. So in Ayurveda, how do you figure out your innate constitution? What's the best way for people to do that?
You can just go online, honestly, and take a little quiz. I would say that would be kind of the fast way to do it. if you want before you come, but I'm also, that's going to be like where we start too. So I'm going to describe like a more Vata person, a more Pitta person, a more Kapha person, so that you can be like, yeah. And it might not be 100%, because remember at the very beginning, Usha said we are all different and the doshas show up differently. But if there's a majority, but online, one of my favorite tests is from Banyan Botanicals. So banyanbotanicals.com, and right like up top is like take a dosha quiz. Just click on that. It takes 2 minutes, and try to really like take a moment though when you're answering the questions to really think, and also think, because we have like our Prakriti pulse, which is like what we're born with, which shows us our doshas, and our Vikriti pulse, which is like what's happening every minute. It can change, right? Or every day to day. But if you have fallen into more of like you're dealing with some health issues, try to think back before that of like what you were, and then we will talk about the difference of eating for your Vikriti versus your Prakriti pulse, what you were born with and what's happening for you like right now. Where are you at? So but yeah, take that. We're going to dive deep into what different the Vata, Pitta, Kapha constitutions, and then we're going to dive deep into the food, and then the tissues, and then how that all affects your wellness. So that's kind of how I laid it out. And Usha, you're just so awesome because you read my mind. So I feel like, I mean, if you can't come, you basically got your class.
Yeah. Yes. Seriously. And you know, that's the beauty of Ayurveda.
Yeah.
Just to like break down these words a little bit as we close. Prakriti is your true nature. And each of us is born with an innate nature. And yet life is hard. We don't eat the right food. We're exposed to stressful situations. We go through challenging things. And this can cause imbalance, which is like a sheath that hides us from our true nature. And so part of this class will be about using food as medicine to get back to that innate, what you are, your true self, that which is naturally arising in you. And the biggest awakening I had was when I discovered my true nature. And Staraya was actually the one who helped me figure it out. And I remember just being like, oh my God, I thought I was a different constitution this whole time. And it is so healing. Yes, I was like, Staraya. I wouldn't let her sleep. And it is so healing to let yourself be yourself in a world where we're told to be like this. Right. Otherwise, you're not loved, you're not worthy, you're not accepted. And in Ayurveda, it's that opportunity to accept ourselves as we are and come back into alignment with what balance feels like for us, and figure out how to nourish our bodies, knowing that what you need to be nourished is different than what I need to be nourished.